Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We have been working on all kinds of games, but one of them that we've been working on is this Sonic Prospector 4-player Spanish-made pinball machine, which is kind of rare. You don't see a lot of those in the States. This was made in 1977, and it has kind of a Laurel and Hardy theme of all things. But the thing is actually in pretty nice shape and is very colorful. It halfway plays, but we're right in the middle of working through it, trying to get it to play right. So if you have any interest in these Spanish machines, keep watching. And if you didn't see the first two videos, go back and see those. But we're going to start working in the back box on this video. So one of the things that we did last time was we worked on all of the relays and everything on the bottom of the machine on the mechanism board. And we got it to kind of limp along and play a little bit. Now, somebody came in our shop and started a game, and when they did, the ball landed up here and just stayed up there. So I don't know if that is going to rectify itself or not, but I'm going to hit the start button and see if anything happens. Nothing. So I'm going to add some credits and see if anything happens. It added a couple credits and kicked the ball out. Now think about that. We got to think of the logic of this. And then now if I hit the start button, nothing. So let me try adding a credit again. We're up to 12. We're up to 15. And now if I hit start, it starts. Very strange. And it left 15 credits on it. So that's what we're having happen. Now think about what happened. The ball was stuck in the... So a guy was trying to play a game. The ball stuck in the hole up here, the kick-out hole, and then never kick back out. Turned it off, turned it back on, it won't kick out. And you saw it just now, it was stuck in there. So what made it kick out? When I added credits, somebody has added a credit button on the front. It's like an old doorbell or something. When I added credits, it went click, 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 and started turning some stuff. The score motor started turning, and then it kicked out. Okay? So then we got down here to the bottom again. Score motor stopped, and I tried to hit start, and it didn't start a game. If I added credits, score motor turned again, and then when I hit start, it started a game. So what would you deduce from that? Kind of sounds to me like, I don't know, but I would just guess there's something on the score motor. Maybe, the score motors always have 2 or 3 positions they can stop at. Maybe one of the positions it stops at, there's a switch that's not connecting, that needs to connect for all of the electrical stuff to work, all of the coils to work. And so without that connecting, it couldn't kick the ball out, it couldn't start a game. We hit the button and turn it maybe a third of a revolution or something, and now it's connecting whatever switch it is, and when you hit start, everything works. So that would be my guess, but we'll see. So the problem we had last time was it says one can play, and we're on the first player. So let's see if it'll play. Okay. Yeah. So we got another dead area over here where the ball just lands in there and gets stuck. I was doing that last time. I almost made it. And then nothing. So it keeps starting and dying, starting and dying. Maybe we'll see if we can figure that out first. But usually we clean through everything, but we're not going to be able to test it very well if it keeps doing that. We need to kind of test my theory that it's the score motor. So let me get the schematics and maybe we can figure it out. Okay, so we have these huge schematics. They're literally 6 feet long. That one's a wide body. There's 6 foot long schematics. And like I said, it's a Spanish-made game, so it's slightly different than the American-made ones, but it seems like it's very similar to the Williams machines. So we're trying to figure it out. I can't find anything common to all of that. So sometimes the start button doesn't work, which is in the cabinet. Sometimes the kick-out holes on the playfield don't work. And there's 3 different ones that have given me problems. So the top left one, you saw the ball was stuck in. The top right one the ball has been stuck in a couple times, and then now it's landed in the out hole and it's not doing anything. So that's kind of strange. So I thought, well, maybe, like right now, it's in the out hole and it's not doing anything. So I thought, well, maybe there is, sometimes on some of these, there's a relay, like the game over relay or the reset relay, or the tilt relay or something, that disconnects the power somewhere. So for instance, right here, the game over relay and the reset relay, see that? So there's a transformer at this end. Here's the power, goes into a transformer, and then there are a couple windings on the transformer. There's one that's a 6 volt, which is all of the lights. Okay, they're all on. And then there's a 24 volt winding that goes to all of the coils. Okay, so part of it will only work if the game over relay is tripped. Right? So the out hole relay won't work, the silver bonus unit step up, the ball release, the gold blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now the rest of these will work because it gets its power before that relay. So the left eject hole, the right eject hole, it's the ones that we've been having problems with, etc., etc., etc. A lot of the score units, etc., etc., etc. Now, eventually, the power runs through the game over relay, the reset relay, and the tilt relay. So if you tilt it, this opens, and then none of this stuff will work. Right? But check this out. Pop bumper still works. So the left pop bumper is all the way down here. After the power has ran through all of that stuff, it runs into a bridge rectifier. So you see one side of the winding there, and one side of the winding there. Run through this bridge rectifier with a fuse, and the right jet bumper to center jet bumper to left jet bumper, the left kicker and the right kicker. They're all still working. So what's that tell us? That power is getting all the way through all of that down to here. This doesn't necessarily mean that this stuff gets the power line after the other stuff, but if they drew it like this with this line on this side of the reset, the tilt, and the game over relay, then it must run through it, you know. And so that's all fine. So everything's got power. It's just not working. So let's look for like the out hole relay, for instance. Like, why has the ball landed in the out hole and nothing's happening? Let's see if I can even find where it does that. A lot of this, sometimes this stuff is very, very complex. There's going to be a broken wire somewhere. Well, it works sometimes though, so I guess it won't be a broken wire, but there'll be a dirty switch somewhere that's killing all of this. Let's see the trying to look and see if we can get a clue somewhere. We need a clue, folks. I'll bet it does the. It counts down the bonuses first. That's going to be really complex. I'm trying to find on here where it does any of that. Silver bonus advance relay. So what does that say that it does over there? It advances the silver bonus. Okay, so that'll be our clue. So why does this one never work? When the ball lands in there, you should get 5,000 points, and it should advance the silver bonus. There is a silver bonus on the playfield and a gold bonus on the playfield. Silver bonus advance relay. What makes that happen? Looks like several things. A rollover button. Switches, 2 of them will do it. A silver bonus unit, it looks like somehow will do it. And then it holds itself in. long as until the end of stroke switch opens up or whatever. I don't see anything about that. Like, it doesn't say anything about how the when it lands on the right, it should do that. Well, where's the coil? That's the advanced relay. Where's the coil that actually advances the silver bonus unit? This is how we, here we go. This is how we, the time we have to spend figuring some of this stuff out. Silver bonus unit step up. So that's the actual coil that is actually advancing the bonus unit. That actual coil pulls in. So what makes it pull in? Well, it looks like there's 4 ways. One is the silver bonus advance relay, which we just looked at. One is the right and center eject relay. When it pulls in, that will close and it will step up the silver bonus unit. One is the left eject and canyon relay. Now remember, this one's not working quite right either. Okay, it can do it. And one is a switch on the motor. Man, this is a complex freaking setup. All right. Okay, so the actual relay does it. So the right and center eject relay is what should be scoring that. So the right and center eject relay should be coming on whenever the ball lands in that hole. It is right here. Right and center eject relay. So what turns it on? So this line here is it can hold itself on. So once it pulls in, it connects this until the score motor turns around. Now why does it do that? It does that to make sure that it gets a good full hold in, right? If you hit a switch on the playfield and it's supposed to make that pull in, it might go and do it real quick, and it's not enough time for all the score reels and everything to turn like it should. So instead, it turns itself on, and it stays turned on, stays connected until that score motor opens up, okay? So the right and center eject relay will hold itself on through that, and the only other way it gets power is through a normally closed switch on the silver bonus relay. Okay. The silver bonus relay. So then the power has to come back through the silver bonus unit 0 position switch. Okay. And there's the silver bonus relay. So basically, power comes through here, through the right eject switch, which is where the ball would land. So that connects. Then it comes over to here, and this switch here should either be over to this side where it's going to turn on the silver bonus relay, or it should be over on this side where it will go through a normally closed switch on the silver bonus relay and blah blah blah. Okay, so in other words, if this switch on the bonus unit itself isn't right, it would never kick the ball out. Now that's on the right hole that it won't kick out of, the left hole that it won't kick out of sometimes, the center hole that it won't kick out of sometimes, and there may have even been another one. There's a canyon bonus. Oh yeah, look, there's another one. That's how you collect it, so that's probably a little different. Okay, so if the ball lands in there, if there's something going on with that bonus unit, it would never work right. So maybe we work under the playfield today instead of in the back box. So we got that. Now, why is the ball not doing anything when it lands in the out hole? Let's see if we can figure that out. If you're not bored to death yet, we're just trying to understand how it works a little bit, wrap our mind around it. So how do we figure out what's going on there? Well, did the ball kick back out? No, it did not. So that's where we'll start. We'll start with what it didn't do. It did not kick out. So part of it is just finding that on the schematics. It's huge. Look at all this stuff. I thought I saw it earlier. Here, tell me to stop whenever you see it. There it is. The ball release coil. That's not happening. So it should happen when the score motor turns. But that's the thing. The score motor's not turning. And if the out-hole relay has pulled in, so this is the out-hole relay, this closed line here is it in its normal position. So not energized. So if the out-hole relay pulls in, it would close that switch. Power would go from this side of the transformer through a switch that will close on the score motor as it turns at 4B. And that will close for a second and bam, turn on the ball release coil, which will kick the ball out. Okay, so that's not happening, but where's our problem here? I don't know if the out-hole relay is in, but I do know that the score motor never started. Okay, so what starts the score motor? Probably the out-hole relay. So way up here we have the score motor. Why is it not turning? Well, it turns when any of these close. The out-hole relay. Okay, so if the out-hole relay pulls in, the same thing will happen. That line will go from there to over here. That will connect power from this side of the transformer through the relay, through the motor service jack, and turn the motor on. That's not happening. Now notice that the right and center eject relay should be making it do it too. That's not happening either. So we've got an out-hole relay that won't turn on the motor, a right and center eject relay that won't turn on the motor. Interesting. It's almost like sometimes it's not making a good connection, but I don't know. Okay, so our motor is never turning on. So let me see if I can figure out why that is. Okay, so when you land in the out-hole, you collect the gold bonus. Okay. So this out-hole switch is right in the middle of all of this, labeled as hole switch. Yep, that's it. So the ball lands in there, and all it does is it connects that switch. Okay, so when it does that, it will connect power from this side through a switch on the motor at the index D, that switch. Now we've already cleaned that, so it should be fine, but maybe we messed it up. It will connect power from this side through that switch, and gold bonus unit 0 position switch. So I guess at 0 position it's down here, but if we're not at 0 position it will be this way. Okay, so the power will connect through here, through the top, through our closed hole switch, and we'll turn on the gold bonus relay. Okay, so that's the first thing that it does. So we got a whole bunch of relays here on the side of the board. This says gold bonus advance relay. I don't think that's it though. I think it's just gold bonus relay. It's hard to read in there. Okay, so this one is the gold bonus relay. When the ball enters the out hole, it should pull that in. So we can simulate that by just hitting the switch. Now you see when I hit the switch, nothing happens. So is it that the switch is dirty? See the contact there? I mean, it's kind of shiny, so that's probably not dirty enough. So the switch isn't dirty, and it's not turning on the gold bonus relay. Let's look at the schematics again to make sure that we're understanding that right. Where were we? Gold bonus relay. Our hole switch should turn that on whenever we connect that, but that is only if the gold bonus unit 0 position switch is not at 0. If it's up here, and only if this index switch is in the proper place. So let's look at the gold bonus unit 0 position switch. Okay, so if you look, there is a 3-way switch. It has a red and green wire going to the middle. That's basically the one that will go to either way. And then a white wire on one switch and a black wire on the other switch. So the red and green wire goes between the white wire and the black wire depending on how the switch is set. So if you look, let me see if I can zoom you in. It's this top set of switches here. We went too far. Okay, so the red and green wire is going to the middle one. It's kind of hard to tell from this angle. The top blade is the white wire, and the bottom blade is the black wire. So the red and green is connected to the black wire. We don't know how well, but it appears to be touching at least. So the red and green wire is touching the blade of the switch that has the black wire. So this appears to be touching through that switch, and then we hit the whole switch and nothing happens. Does not turn on our gold bonus relay. Our whole switch also looks clean, right? So this, although it's touching, may not be touching well enough. And it could be this index switch. So let's go look at this. So there is a, see, look, you got this going down too, just to confuse us. There is an index, ooh, I wonder if it runs to the other thing. That would be awesome. It runs down here, through the silver bonus relay, through the right and center eject relay. Wow! SPTG switch. Spinner target switch. Left and right. Didn't they not work on the first video? Yeah, they didn't work, right? So through there, through the alternator relays, okay. So yeah, that has something to do with the bonuses or something. Yeah, the silver bonus unit. Okay. So my whole point is, if this index switch was messed up, the out hole thing would never work, and it would make something to do with silver bonus relay or something not work as well. So let's check that. So index D, there is a yellow wire, which is this one, connected to a red and green wire. Index D. Now when it says index, it's talking about the cams on the score motor. And one of them is called the index cam. So there's 2 positions on the score motor. I was saying 2 or 3. So basically it turns around until it gets to the home position and stops again. So this index switch, or index relay, index, did it say D? So A, B, C, D, it's the top one. The top switch pulses to the reset relay, and the bottom switch pulses to the out hole relay. Okay, so we need to see if yellow is connected to red and green. We also want to see if that switch is not in the right place, and maybe that's screwing up all kinds of stuff. I got you, sucker. All right. I figured it out. So this is the index cam here on the end. So basically, as that score motor turns, it opens and closes different switches depending on the cams where the switch lands. So see, there's a little thing that rides on the cam. When it rides over that cam to this hole, it will fall into that hole, which closes or opens switches depending on how it's set up. Well, this is the index one. Whenever the score motor is just sitting there, those switches should be down in the valley, and they are not. Look at that. The score motor has stopped before the switch got back to the hole there. It should have turned a little more, and then it would get to that hole and the switches would open and close however they should, right? So why would it do that? Why didn't it turn all the way? I'll show you. So let's say that the the reset relay or the start relay, or let's see what it actually is. I don't know what the last one would have been that we actually got to work. So any of this stuff can turn on the score motor and make it start turning. Okay, so the coin relay, the reset relay, the 25-cent relay, the 10-cent relay, the silver bonus relay, the gold bonus relay, the canyon and left eject relay, the right and center eject relay, the 5,000 point relay, the outhole relay. So if any of those relays come on, one of the switches on that relay, as shown here, like the coin relay for instance, that closes and that connects power from here to turn on the score motor. Once the score motor turns off the index, right, as soon as it starts turning, then what happens? That switch, that cam, gets, or the rider here, gets up on top of this cam. And so if you look, on A, that would open that switch. And on this one, it would transfer the switch to the top instead of the bottom. And on this one, it would transfer the switch to the top instead of the bottom. And on this one, it would transfer the switch to the top instead of the bottom. Okay? And then it will, once it gets up on that thing, because let's say the coin relay pulled in, well, now it's turning and those switches are closed. They will open and go back the other way once it gets halfway around the revolution to here. So what's happened is ours has stopped like here. It never got all the way there. Well, why is that? It's because the coin relay or whatever turned off. So the coin relay turned it on, and gets over here and the coin relay turns off. Maybe it's not needed anymore, right? And then it's just stopping right there. It's not supposed to do that, because there's one other thing that comes on. Just like the relays hold themselves on, the score motor holds itself on so that it can get back to its home position. So once the coin relay pulls it in, it comes off the index and closes this switch. Bam, right up there. And now it has power. It doesn't even care what the coin relay does. Damn it, it's going to get back to the other home position, right? Because it's got a switch on itself holding on to do that. Now when it gets to the other index, the other home position, that switch opens, and if the coin relay has turned off, well then there's nothing giving it power anymore and it stops. So what ours is doing is it's stopping before it gets back to home position, so it's got to be this switch. Now if it's not at home position, that means every switch on the score motor is not in the right position. Okay, so it means that all kinds of this stuff can't work right because the score motor is not at its home position. So any one, you see all these relays on this side, any one of them that runs through a switch on the score motor, which is all these ones that are circled, all of those are in the wrong position. So right now the game can't do anything. See, a lot of these don't, but they do over here. Right now a lot of them can't do anything because the score motor needs to turn just a little bit more. So if you go to the game, the stuff that doesn't need the score motor, like for instance the pop bumpers, still works. The rollover buttons. Did that get it? Did it move it back? Yeah. See, that moved it. So now it's down in the valley. So now, I'll bet the outhole works because it's in the right position. Right. Voila! Voila, people. So the problem is not that we need to rotate it. The problem is we need to fix the index switch that makes it keep itself on. So let's get a close look at that. Okay, now we cleaned this last time, but we didn't get it right. So if you look on the stack of switches on top of the index cam, it's the third set. So there's one long blade that's in the middle, right? It's the second one from the top. And so that switch should be connected to the blue and white when it's down in the valley. And when it rides up on top of the cam, it should change course and connect to the orange and the green. Okay, so if you look, once we did the thing just then where we held the outhole switch down, it landed in the wrong spot again. I moved it to the right spot. So if you look, here, I'll try to point this out so you can see what's going on. So this top switch here, see the top 3 blades? The long blade in the middle is connected to the spacer. So we are down in the valley right now, so it's down. So that switch, the top big blade, is touching the small blade underneath it. Okay, so when it rides up on that cam, it will raise all of these up because of these spacers. And that top one will raise up, disconnect from the bottom blade, and touch the top blade. And that's just how they work. It's a classic make or break switch. Now, if you look underneath, so there's 3 blades for that set of switches. If you look underneath that, there is a little black thing. That's a little piece of fish paper to keep the bottom blade from touching the top blade of the second set of switches. Okay, but I want you, and so then you have the second switch here with the spacer underneath it. That's the switch that we've got a problem with. So you see the long blade, and it is currently touching the short blade down beneath it. Whenever it rides up on that cam, all this will push up and it should touch that blade up above it. But look really close. See how there's a fairly big gap between that middle blade and the small blade above it? Then look at the top. See the big blade and the small blade above it? It's not as big of a gap. So that one's just adjusted a little bit too far out. So when it pushes up, sometimes it's connecting, I guess, and sometimes it's not, or maybe it never is. So it's not quite getting there. So let me see if I can get it to turn and not start everything. So I'm just going to try to move it just a little bit. Yeah, okay. So now we're up on the cam, and that second one looks like it's touching, but is it? So we got to clean that, and I'm going to adjust it down a little bit so that it's easier for it to touch it. And whenever the blade comes up, you want it to hit that small blade and even move it a little bit, right? But we know that it must not be touching it, because if it would be providing power to the score motor and it would be turning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, I got this little file here. I'm going to connect the switch by just lightly pressing down on it with this file, and that should make the score motor start, because that's the run switch, right? So see that you've got the small blade, and then a big blade, and then a small blade that's not connected. That's the top set of switches. We're under it here. So this small blade here looks like it's connected to this big one, but I don't think it is. So 32 volts, here we come. Whoa! I'm having technical difficulties. It's just 32 volts, people. It won't kill you. If I can do this without... Yeah, hear it trying? Right? I don't know if you got to see it. We'll do it again. I'll do it again. Still don't know if you got to see it. I'll do it again. Think I won't? The hell I won't. So if that switch is shut, it will run. But that switch is misadjusted, so it doesn't always land in the valley. Right? So just me messing with it kind of got it working. So I'm going to clean it, readjust it, and that should fix all of that crap where the balls won't bounce out. Okay, so we're at game over. I adjusted it a little bit. Let's see if it'll do anything different. So if I just hit start, it started. It kicked the ball out. Not quite enough, Ronnie. Kick the ball out. Let's land on that right one. It's never worked. Let's see if the spinners work now. Spinners are working. Let's see if this right one will work. Very cool. Alright, so I think that would fix a lot of it. Let's see if it goes to a 4-player game, or if we're just going to stay on a 1-player game like we want. Last time it went to a 4-player game. Yeah, see, that's our next problem. It's getting stuck on a 4-player game. So we're kind of back after all of this to where we were before. Now remember, we haven't cleaned anything on the playfield. Okay, so let's figure out why it's constantly stuck on a 4-player game. That doesn't seem right. Okay, so this is more interesting stuff if you're really into this. So here we go. So it's ball in play number 2. So what I did was I played all the way through the first ball. And clean as a whistle, it went from player 1 to player 2 to player 3 to player 4. And then, importantly, it reset to player 1, and we're at ball number 2. So it's working perfectly. It just thinks we're in a 4-player game. So we got to look at how it does all of that. Like, how in the world does it count all of that and keep all that straight, and how does it know what to do and all of that? So let me show you what it's doing. Okay. So when the ball lands in the out hole, eventually the out hole relay comes in. Click, that connects, right? And then the extra ball relay has not came on. So you're not getting an extra ball. If you were getting an extra ball, the ball would just shoot back out. It wouldn't do anything with the ball count or the player unit or any of that, right? So you're not getting an extra ball. So power connects through here, through here, through here. It doesn't connect through the tilt relay because the tilt relay hasn't pulled in because we haven't tilted. And then the ball index relay has pulled in. Now the ball index relay basically turns on if you score any points. So the reason for that is just in case the ball shoots out, doesn't score any points, and then lands in the out hole, they don't take the ball away from you and you lost your ball. No, they just shoot the ball back out and you can play again. Now, why would they do that? Someone was explaining to me here on YouTube, and it's a good point that I never even thought of. Another purpose for this is if the ball kicks out of the out hole over to the shooter lane, but doesn't get all the way to the shooter lane, and then rolls back into the out hole. If they didn't have the ball index relay, if they didn't have this particular switch right here, when the ball rolled back, it would close the out hole relay and you'd lose your ball. And if it did it 3 times in a row, the whole game would be over. But because of this switch, you never scored any points, so that switch is still open. As soon as you score some points, it turns on the ball index relay, and now that switch is closed. So the out hole relay pulls in, it's closed. Power goes this way. It goes through the extra ball relay because that's not open. Okay, because you don't have an extra ball. That's closed. So then you go through the ball index relay, it's closed because you scored some points. And then it gets to here, and the out hole relay, remember, has turned on the score motor. So the score motor is turning. Now they've got it all timed out where these close at different times, but this one switch will close at 2A, and then you send power through here as that switch is closed, and you get to here. If the player reset relay has not pulled in, then power will come down through that switch and will turn on the player unit step-up switch. That's what's happening with ours. So it's not saying to reset the player unit, the player reset. It's not saying to reset the player. You'll see that here in a second. That's not pulled in. This isn't doing anything. So the power is connecting and the player unit is stepping up. Ours is doing that. So we're going from player 1 to player 2. Okay. So what makes the player reset relay pull in so that you don't go to player 2? Well, the only way that the player reset relay pulls in, right here, right under it, is through an end of stroke switch on the ball count unit. So when the ball count unit, it's on 1, whenever it goes to ball 2, click, it closes an end of stroke switch, which turns on the player reset relay. The player reset relay then pulls in, click, and connects that. It also, at the same time, holds itself on until the index gets back to home, like we were just messing with. Okay? So the player reset relay pulls in and holds itself on. Ball lands in the out hole, blah, 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 blah. That switch connects. That switch is connected, and it resets the player unit. So what does that do? Well, the player unit's on player 1. If it resets it, it would go ding and just stay at player 1. But if you're on a 2-player game, you go to player 2. Once player 2 gets done and the ball count unit steps up to ball number 2, it goes and resets it back to player 1. Let's say you're on a 3-player game. Player 1, player 2, player 3. At the end of the player 3, the ball count unit goes from ball 1 to ball 2, connects that switch, resets the player unit back to player 1. So that's what's happening right now. Player 1, player 2, player 3, or player 4, and then it reset back to ball number 2 on player 1. So what does that mean? All of that's actually working. The player unit is stepping up, and it's resetting after it gets to number 4. Because the ball count unit is going to number 2, hitting the switch, and turning this on, which sends the power this way, and makes the player unit reset to player number 1. So all of that is working, okay? So that's this switch. This other switch, though, if you look, power comes through here, and you've got the player unit. So player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4. It connects those connections as the unit turns, okay? Now, keep in mind, ours is doing that. It's turning, right? Okay, so this is the coin unit. This is what actually controls how many players are playing. So this coin unit, when you put 1 quarter in, it just stays where it is. It's a 1-player game. So what should happen is this switch closes on the motor as the motor is turning, and then power connects through the coin unit to here, goes around this, and makes the ball count unit step up. The ball count unit steps up to ball number 2. Then what happens? It hits the end of stroke switch, which resets the player unit back to player 1, even though you never left player 1. So that's what should be happening, but that's not what's happening, right? So let's say this coin unit was on a 2-player game. So you'd put 2 quarters in. So now it's connected here. Well, what would happen is player 1, this wouldn't be connected. So the ball count unit would never get triggered, right? That's not connected to anything. But this, whenever it moved to player 2, that would be connected. And at the end of the ball, when that score motor turned, power would connect through there, through the second player on the coin unit. Bam! Pull in the ball count unit step up switch. It would hit the end of stroke switch, reset it back to player 1. And there you go. Right? So what's happening is, that's not happening either. So what we're getting is player 1, it's not connected. Player 2, it's not connected. Player 3, it's not connected. Player 4 on the player unit, when it gets to that, it connects that, which is just a straight shot to the ball count unit, and that's making it work. So we should have something connected up here on the coin unit. Basically, the cam on the coin unit doesn't appear to be doing anything. I may have put it on in the wrong place or something. Maybe I screwed it up and it's not connected. It's connected to the wrong stuff or something. Or maybe there's a wire broke. If this blue and red wire was broke, it would do it. So there's something going on. You could test it without ever even opening the machine by trying to start a 2-player game. Put 2 coins in and see if it moves it up to here, and then it started working after 2 players. So let's look at the coin unit, and that should be our issue. Okay, so here is the ball count unit, and this leg here is touching the blue and red wire, which is correct, and then it's connecting through this. It's kind of hard to see that, but this blade is connected to this blade. This blade is connected to this, which is the red and white wire that goes to the ball count unit. Okay. We got some kind of issue there, so this must not be making good connection. So I'm going to check that with a multimeter and see if we've got a good connection between here and here. But it's showing you that it's not actually up on a 4th-player game. Now, if you were to start a 2nd-player game, a 2-player game, it would move this leg up to here, to this 2nd connection, and then it would be connected to there. And then on a 3-player game, it would move up to the 3rd one, and it would be connected to the gear. If you go to a 4-player game, it connects up to here where there's actually no connection. It doesn't do anything. It just waits for it to get to where on the player unit it has a connection. So that's actually how it's supposed to be, but I don't have a good connection between here and here, apparently. So I'm going to check that with a multimeter, and we'll see if that fixes it. Okay, so when it was resetting back to 0, the blade, instead of lining up perfectly with that line, it was just a little bit kind of on the edge. So I just carefully bent the blade just a little bit, just to raise it a little bit where it's a little more centered on that. And then I checked to make sure that when it gets to 2 and 3, it's also on its trace. And hopefully that's got it. So let's see. Okay. Ball 1. Kickout's working as it should. Come on, ball 2. Ah, I got you, sucker. All right. So let's see ball 3. The switch was stuck upside down. Ball 3. This should end it. Only on one player. That's good. Game over. Very cool. Let's see if it... Let's try like a 2-player. Okay, so ball 1, and if we hit start again, it should start a 2-player. 2 can play. So once it does that, that tells you that that coin unit has stepped up, because that's what lights that up, right? So it's ball 1, player 1. We should go to player 2. And we did, but then after player 2, ball 1, we should go to reset the player 1 and ball 2. All right, perfect, okay. And then finally, we need to start a 3-player. Yes, I said finally. Nobody plays a 4. Come on, people. People, the 4-player, it doesn't need to. We already know the 4 people. It just connects right through. Come on now. 1 player. 2 players can play. 3 players can play. So the 3rd player is the only one really that the coin unit is going to use, you know. Player 1, ball 1. Come on, baby. I'm sorry I called you a sucker. Player 2. Ball 1. Not quite enough. All the kickouts seem to be working great. That left spinner don't work at all. Player 3, it's still on ball 1. Here we go. Perfect. So that's how you do it, folks. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. That ended up being a decent little video. Worked through a couple problems that hopefully will be instructive to someone if you're working through your own. Remember, these are very similar to Williams pinball machines. So if you've got a 76 or so Williams EM like a Grand Prix, it's probably going to be very similar to this. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. I'm going to clean through a bunch of the switches, so on the next video we can kind of button it up. But make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble of filming it for you. And hey, you know how you can support our channel? There is a link down below to Amazon. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, not anything we're pitching you or anything, but let's say you know of something on Amazon you're going to buy. If you use our link, it gives us a tip. So we appreciate everybody that's been doing that lately. Some people have even bookmarked the link. Boy, that's cool. People can be very nice sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed what we did this evening. And like I said, we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, though. But those who take the trouble to do it, we appreciate it. And finally, last but not least, don't forget my brother Donnie. My brother Donnie has a channel here on YouTube. The link is also down below. We work on arcade games, jukeboxes, and pinball machines. My brother Donnie works on classic vehicles, stuff like that, but he's a little crazier than I am. So you'll just have to check out his channel to see what it's like. I'm over there with him a lot, and we will see you on the next video. Like I said, next time we'll work on this a little bit more. We've got to clean everything in the back box. We have to clean everything under the playfield, and then we need to test play it to make sure everything's working, like the left spinner and the light bulbs that are out and all of that stuff. But hopefully this was a good little video showing you specifically how you can troubleshoot with the schematics, and how if you look at it and you think about it long enough, you can figure out it's got to be one switch. So we'll see you next time. We'll find some more switches.